Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, guys. Welcome to our coffee chat. This is something that we actually do every single Monday at this time, except last Monday because it was a holiday in Canada, which if you don't know, Christina lives in Canada. I am Canadian. I just happen to live in Mexico. So we tend to celebrate Canadian holidays, but we also understand there's lots of American holidays too. So Thanksgiving's coming, so we know that as well. So we just want to welcome you guys. Happy Monday, another week. I can't believe it. It's almost Christmas. No, just kidding. It is.
Well, I read something the other day. It was like 9 Fridays till Christmas, and I'm like, that's insane. And then I was briefly at the mall returning some mittens for my daughter the other day, and I saw people with like loads of bags, and I'm like, that's Christmas shopping. Like, yeah, haven't even considered it. Not even thought.
It's crazy. So here we celebrate Day of the Dead, so Dias las Muertes, and they've actually had to cancel the celebrations because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's just been like, they're just like, oh, okay, well then can that and just like bring out all the Christmas stuff. And I'm just like, oh my word, like what just happened there? And I know in Canada, as soon as Thanksgiving's over in October, it's just like, here's all the Christmas stuff up. It's just,
the stores are Christmas everything already. So
it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, welcome guys. If you're new, which we have so many brand new members to this group, guys, welcome. We're so excited to have you. I am Lindsay. That is Christina. We are the co-owners of Sassy Evolution, and again, we do this every single Monday. We look at different topics that are coming up in our questions. We get tons and tons of private messages asking us different questions. We have, different memberships. We have all of these things. And these are the things that come up a lot of the time. And recently, because we have a lot of new members come into the group, the conversation of food, which, let's be honest, is usually a very common conversation anyways, but a lot of the conversations are, I don't know what to eat, I'm eating the wrong foods. When you come into this group, we ask you some questions, and one of them is, what's your biggest challenge? And I would say 85% of the people who have come in have said something to do with food, whether it be not eating the right foods, not knowing what to eat, falling back into old habits, slider foods, filler foods, they're all very much.
My inbox has been very busy lately with how many calories should I be eating? I feel like at this far out, I'm eating too much. How much do you eat? If you don't know, Lindsay and I actually both post our food daily. Every single day we post on our Facebook stories. So if you add us as a friend on Facebook, you can then follow along on our Facebook stories. And so I am almost 5 years post-op gastric sleeve surgery. So you can see at almost 5 years post-op what I actually eat every day to maintain my weight loss. So if you think that would be something that would be helpful, then add me as a friend and follow along there. And it will give you an idea, because I am not one of those people that is eating 900 calories a day. I am not limiting myself to only eating half a cup of food. I do not limit myself to eating 3 times a day. I eat like a real person. So if you follow me, who has had gastric sleeve surgery, and you follow Lindsay, who has not, you would notice that our meals almost look very similar a lot of the time. That for the most part now, somebody wouldn't necessarily know that I had surgery. My portions are slightly smaller than, somebody who hadn't had surgery, but probably not much smaller than somebody who eats in a normal, healthy way who hadn't had surgery. So that's just something to keep in mind, that I find for the most part now that nobody even, like if I go out to a restaurant or something, like for the most part, they don't notice that I haven't had surgery. I don't eat like things like the bread and that kind of stuff, but when I actually eat my protein and veggies, it's not that much different than a normal average person. So that is something that we really wanted to talk about today, is how much is too much and how much should you be eating, and that kind of thing, and eating to fuel your body rather than starving to fuel your body. So Lindsay had something she wanted to talk about regarding starvation.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to quickly talk about something called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment, which, if you have never heard of it, it's something that came out in 1945. So 1944 to 1945. This is a long time ago. But in one of my courses I took, which was called The Psychology of Eating, it talks a lot about the psychology of what we eat, our moods, our mental, not just our physical, but also our physiological changes that happen when we go into what's called semi-starvation. And anything below 1,200 calories, guys, is considered semi-starvation in our body. Our body, as a human in a coma, requires a minimum of 900 calories. And sadly, we actually have a member who has a sister in a coma, and she can confirm this. This is not just us reading the stats and not knowing, but she can confirm that the hospital has her on at least 900 calories. And the reason for that is because our body does very basic body function. I say basic, our bodies are amazingly brilliant. So I say basic only because I'm talking like fix a cut that's on your finger, grow your hair, make sure your teeth are doing okay, make sure your body's working. I'm not talking walking, digesting,
Blinking,
blinking, laughing, any of those things that we do as human beings on a regular basis. So the Starvation Experiment was really about figuring out, at the time there was in World War II, there was a lot of people who were suffering without any food. So they wanted to understand the psychology of what that would look like. So again, it's relevant in the sense that this study has basically really been the backbone for all of the psychology of starvation, semi-starvation in every industry, from bulimia and anorexia to bariatrics to understanding diet mentality, all of these things. So basically the idea was to study in detail the physical and psychological effects of prolonged semi-starvation. And when I mean prolonged, it doesn't mean, a fast of one day. Again, I'm not necessarily a huge fan, but that's not what we're talking. We're talking prolonged starvation. So it decreased sex drive, it changed emotionally, it decreased strength and energy and stamina, anxiety and depression increased, headaches, dizziness, sleep deprivation, all I'm sure you totally know if you've ever been in a semi-starvation state. One of the things,
I mean, let's be honest, anybody who's had bariatric surgery, you have been. First of all, the pre-op diet is usually semi-starvation. And then also the immediate time in post-op, like those first few weeks of post-op, you are struggling to get 400, 500, 600 calories when you're only able to drink like 2 ounces of protein shake at a time. Like I remember that, and I remember how I felt. And so a lot of the things Lindsay said, yeah, I definitely felt that in those, first few weeks post-op. And some people live in that in a prolonged state where they're like a year, 2 years, 3 years out and still living at those low calorie levels.
Yeah, and we hear it a lot too. My hair is falling out. My nails are chipping away. All of these things come from the physiological parts of that semi-starvation. And of course, as you're growing your understanding after surgery, and we always say, we don't work with a lot of brand new bariatric patients anymore, but we would say to them, we want to try to get you up to that 1,000 calorie mark and beyond as quickly as you can do it, right? If you're at 200 calories, you're not going to get up to 1,000 tomorrow. That's just not how it's going to be. But you want to get it up as quickly as possible so that you can get out of that semi-starvation point where the hair and the nails and all of that stuff comes into play. So that is a really good point, because you have all been there. If you've had surgery, that's really important. But what we see a lot of the time is people stay there, and they think that's the only place that they're able to lose the weight. But here was the biggest piece of the Starvation Experiment that they came out, was that people obsessed over food, right? Obsessed over it. They would walk past anything and smell it. They would lick their plates. These guys, they have pictures in the black and white, and they're like really thin, and they're like licking their plates. They were talking about food all the time. They were thinking about food all the time. And that's psychologically where our brain goes when our body is starving, right? When we're so hungry. And, any of those diets, the Bernstein diet that gets you down to ridiculous calories, anything that makes you feel, HCG, anything that makes you feel like you're hungry all the time. But guess what? Being hungry is one thing. Staying hungry is another thing, right? Like we have people who have said to me and said to Christina, I'm always hungry. I just feel like I'm snacking all the time, or I want to eat all the time. But usually it's because when we do a quick assessment of what they're eating, it's because they're not eating enough calories. So of course their body's in overload, being like, gimme, 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 gimme. If you eat, your meals and your snacks, and they're good, healthy, quality foods, your body isn't in that place of always obsessing over food, or always thinking about food, or having the decreased stamina, or having any of these things that the experiment talks about. And I think that's really, really important. But just on a side note, I want to say on that, and then we're going to move on to kind of why we know that really low diet is not the right way to go, is one of the things they found. So as I said, it was November 1944 to October 1945. They followed these guys over the last 60 years. And of those people, it came very evident that those who experimented in that experiment actually were overweight for the majority of their life. because the moment they were allowed, and again, remember this was an experiment, they were allowed to have unrestricted calories, they went all out, 10 to 15,000 calories a day sometimes. And that never changed. And so that's a really, really big one I want you to keep in mind, is that when you put yourself into this starvation, it reinforces us to think, okay, it's an overpowering thought of food. I can't have food, but I'm hungry about food. And it's just like all of this thing. And then ultimately we can't stay there forever. So our bodies just turn into starvation instincts, start storing everything. And here's the important thing. The body is a brilliant, brilliant thing. It doesn't know the difference between a starvation experiment, which was 13 months long, and a liquid diet, or a 30-day cleanse, or a 3-month lose 700 pounds diet that is out there. The moment it hits into that starvation mode is the moment it hits into starvation instincts, and then it will just change the way that our body works. So
it like physiologically changes everything. So it changes the way that you metabolize food. So as soon as you start to starve, it slows your metabolism down and starts storing things because it doesn't know when you're going to eat again. So your body, again, like Lindsay said, is amazing and it's so smart. And so if you restrict those calories in those extremes for a period of time, and I mean, it doesn't have to be 13 months, it can be, 2 months, it can be 30 days. I mean, we don't know the exact amount of time. Your body's smart that if you're sick and you have the flu or something, you can go with low calories for a period of time, but then you do need to get back up in order to, not have these big metabolic and physiological effects. So once your metabolism slows down and you start storing things, it takes so much effort to bring it back. And then what often happens to people, and Lindsay and I say this all the time, is I've lived on 800 or 900 calories for 6 months, 12 months, 6 years, whatever it is. So I've lived in that for so long. And as soon as I have more calories now, I gain weight. So I can't eat more calories. And you know what? It's true. You will in the beginning. But your body needs to learn, and your body needs to start to trust you again that you're not going to starve it forever. So it's this real mind F is the only way that I know how to say it, that it's like once you start eating that healthy amount of calories, you will have a period of regain. It's going to happen, but your body will slowly start to trust you, and then you'll start burning those calories in a better, healthier way, and your weight loss will start to happen again. And when it does, it's more maintainable in the long term. It's sustainable, that you're going to be able to do it forever. It's why I can fairly easily maintain my weight loss within a few pounds, even when I go on an all-inclusive vacation, even when I do these things, because my body trusts me now, and my metabolism is at a point where it's like, okay, your calories are fairly consistent and in this healthy zone, so I can go above or below for a temporary period of time, and my body still stays fairly steady for the most part. Now, when you're doing this roller coaster all the time, which Lindsay said, it's natural that you're going to have those cravings, and your willpower is only going to take you so far. So you can say, I'm going to live at 800 calories and that's what I'm going to do. Well, until you're in a room with 35,000 cupcakes and you're like, yeah, there goes that. Whatever it is, that your willpower is only going to take you so far. If we had ironclad willpower, none of us would have got to the point of bariatric surgery. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that to be honest, that no human out there pretty much, I mean, there's very few that have that ironclad willpower. It just doesn't exist for most of us. So you need to build things around it so that you don't need to rely on willpower to live your life, that you can rely on your body fueling itself and doing the right things and not having those cravings. The most common thing that I see with people is that they starve themselves all day. So they don't have enough calories all day, and it gets to dinner time and they've only eaten 500 calories. And then they eat dinner and then all hell breaks loose. And they have a craving for everything in the world at night. And it's not just like a little craving like, I kind of like a cookie. It's like, eat a cookie, and then it's like, have chips, have this. Like your body starts going crazy because it doesn't want to starve. So it starts craving all of these foods, and those cravings are so intense. So and then you get really hard on yourself and you're like, why can't I just say no to these cravings? Because they're so intense, because your body doesn't want to starve. So it just keeps sending them out, and it's relentless and it won't let up. So, and then we get this whole guilt shame cycle that happens, that you failed and blah, 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 and you can't figure out why. And tomorrow you're going to do better. So then tomorrow you wake up and you fast until noon. And then at noon you eat a small meal of just salad that has 200 calories maybe. and then you have some veggies in the afternoon, and then you start the cycle all over again, and then dinner comes, and then bedtime, and then you're starving again, and you binge like crazy. And it's just this natural cycle that we see all the time. And it really hurts my heart when I see people that are living in it, because it's so hard to break.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it is such a mental part of this whole journey, is that you constantly feel like you're failing because you try, and then you try again, and then you try again, you try again, and try again. And I mean, again, we always say you're going to fail, you're going to have struggles. As long as you get back up again, you're never lost, but there's only so many times that you can feel that way without feeling like a complete failure. And I know in one of the groups that I'm in, not our group that I'm in, they were talking about, how embarrassing they feel because they're beyond the honeymoon, or back on track, behind the honey, wherever you are, whether 2+ years out, and then they're seeing people with success, and then they feel even more embarrassed because they can't get their own success. And then you have these conversations with them, and you're like, okay, so what is it that you're trying? What are you doing? And I swear, I mean, Christina and I, we get these same conversations over and over and over again, and there's always the same pattern. Not eating enough, but going back to basics, what their surgeons say. They're going back to liquid resets, what their surgeon says, and we know they don't work. We know that it's not going to give you anything except for a few pounds of weight loss. But guess what happens the moment you have regular food again? You're going to gain. So people are like, oh, I keep losing and gaining this, this 3 pounds or whatever it is, right? First of all, it is not your fault for feeling this way for certain things, but the only thing that you can control, and we have members after members after members who have joined our programs who are just like you, who could not believe that we were telling them to eat more, could not believe that as bariatric coaches, we're telling you to eat more food. But here's the thing, you got to trust the process, and the process works. We have hundreds of women who can tell you that the process works. They didn't believe it, but they trusted us, and they said, okay. So increase the number of calories. That is the number one stall busting magic pill that we can offer you. Right?
That's what this whole thing this morning is about, is eating to lose weight. But it is not this magic thing of eat less and exercise more, and that's the magic pill. It's not. There's minimum levels that your body has to sustain first. So you have to make sure that you are getting to that 1,200 calories is what is said for the average woman. Now, men are slightly different, but 1,200 calories for the average adult woman is what they need just to get out of bed in the morning. And move about your day without any exercise, without anything extra, without walking the stairs or taking the kids to school or doing anything. Just your minimum level, you get out of bed and you sit on the couch all day, is pretty much 1,200 calories is what you're needing for the average person. So if you're not at that 1,200 level and you're not losing weight, or you're not maintaining comfortably or wherever, then that's something you definitely need to consider is, am I eating enough to sustain? And then if you're at 1,200, but now you're adding 2 hours of exercise in every day, you're still not at the minimum level anymore, because now you're burning, above and beyond that. So you're putting yourself below that 1,200 again. 1,200 is kind of that average, mean that most people have to be at, even after exercise, that your body needs that. And if you're not giving your body that, then you're having storage of fat, and then your metabolism's slowing, and your other processes in your body are slowing too. That, like Lindsay said, I mean, depression and anxiety and those kind of things go up because your body can't cope in the same way, because it takes calories to cope with everyday life. Let's be honest, everyday life isn't easy. So it takes calories and energy to be able to cope with that. It takes calories and energy to be able to grow your hair. It takes calories and energy to be able to put a smile on. It takes calorie and energy to be able to digest your food. All of the things that we do in the run of a day, for your heart to pump blood, for your lungs to breathe. So when you're not fueling at that basic level, something's got to give. And your body has to start slowing down those processes. And that's what happens. So anything that's sort of optional in your body starts to slow down. And yeah, that's just not where you want to be living, where you're depleting your body every single day.
Yeah, and I know in our group, actually, yesterday, I asked the question of how many calories are you eating within the group? And, some people were like 800, 900, 1,200, 1,500, 1,600, 1,900. There was a lot of you who said they didn't know. And again, I'm not turning around and saying you have to count your calories every second to every moment, right? We do talk about macros. We do talk about, tracking. I do truly believe that tracking does help. But here's the thing. If you don't know, and I can tell you from experience with Christina, when she doesn't pay attention to what she's eating, she instantly goes down to her set position, which is like 11 to 1200 calories, without even thinking about it. So if you've been on this roller coaster and you've been in this world where 900 was always what you thought was right, if you're not tracking, you are probably too low. And there's never, there's, hold on, hands, you've got your 800 calorie people, and then you've got your 3,800 calorie people of all really bad calories, right? Like that's a big difference in between there, right? And the big thing you have to remember is not all calories are created equal. People are so afraid of calories, but if you're eating good quality whole foods, right? Not packaged crap, not those 100 calorie friggin' whatever they are,
snack things, whatever, yeah.
If you're eating good quality food, then it doesn't, honestly, if I were to say one thing, it doesn't matter the amount of calories, because first of all, I'll tell you right now, you know why you can have a bag of chips as a whole, but you can't quite get a salad with chicken and vegetables and everything in your body? Because good quality calories fill you up a lot more, right? They give you that. So if you're trying to eat as many calories as you possibly can, I've done this for the record, you can't get in too many extra calories because it's good quality calories. Could you eat the chips, the chocolate, and still be okay? Yeah, you might feel like crap afterwards, but you could do it. It's because the good quality calories take up the space, give your body the nutrients it needs, and it will only allow you to eat so much. So for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of calories. What if I can't stop? What if I can't do? Your body will give you a clue, right? When you can't eat anymore, of good quality calories.
And this amazing thing will also happen, and people often are like, that's crap, Christina, there's no way it's going to happen. But if you fuel your body and get to the healthy calorie level that you need to be at with good quality food, your cravings will subside so much. The mental cravings won't go away right away, because we all have those mental cravings. I mean, they can take our stomachs out, they can, reroute our whatever, but they didn't fix our brains. So let's be honest, we all still know that cupcakes are delicious. So there's that piece that doesn't necessarily go away, but those physical cravings that you get at the end of the day where you literally must have XYZ food, those subside so much when you fuel your body properly. And if you fuel your body, if you find that you're craving a lot of sweets, for instance, if you start fueling your body with fruit, because your body's craving sugars, but you give your body natural sugars from fruit, the cravings for the junky sugars will go away. And it doesn't take long. And I mean, I've worked with so many people that this has happened for. And when we start fueling your body earlier in the day and getting in that snack or that breakfast or snack within 30 minutes of waking, we get in a good quality breakfast, we have a morning snack, we have lunch, we have an afternoon snack. When we do those things, then by the time evening comes and they're like, I wasn't hungry tonight. That's amazing, because you fueled your body properly during the day. You didn't forget to eat. You didn't go 6 hours after waking without eating. That you fueled your body in this really healthy, wonderful way. And your body at the end of the day says, thanks. Like, that was great. I feel really good. Oh my goodness, it's the middle of the afternoon and I didn't have this huge dip in my energy, that I just felt good and could go about my day. So think about not just what is the scale doing and are you stalled? And I know that we always think about that. Are you stalled? Are you gaining? Are you blah, 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 blah. But think about how you feel in the run of a day. Do you have energy to make it through your day? Is that something that you're really struggling with? Like, are you really, depleted in energy at a certain time of day? And I do find the majority of the time when I'm working with clients that the time that they're depleted of energy is right in the middle of the afternoon, right around like 2, 3 o'clock. And I say it all the time that I think Oprah is a genius because she put her show on at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when most women are depleted of fuel at that time in the afternoon. We're tired. We've done all the stuff that we need to do. And then, she throws her show on and we're like all couch potatoes just sitting there staring at the TV. So it was like the most genius thing ever. But that's because we don't fuel ourselves properly. So if you fuel yourself properly for the rest of the day, you'll find that caffeine kick that you look for in the middle of the afternoon, or that sweet kick or whatever, doesn't need to happen. But then the part that you have to keep doing is you have to eat that healthy snack still at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon to be able to fuel the rest of your day. So to get yourself through to dinner so that you're not grazing while you're cooking dinner, to be able to get yourself through to that meal and then get yourself through a bedtime snack and then start over again the next day and do this wonderful thing where you fuel your body and then your body thanks you. And it thanks you in awesome ways, like with energy and also probably with the weight loss that you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think to remember too, like, it's no wonder you're confused. And this is why we are so understanding, right? Actually, my husband and I, Ben, if you haven't met him, come and chat with him over in one of our groups or whatever. But we were just talking because he was just listening to a podcast. He's huge on listening to podcasts. And they're talking about the carnivore diet, right? It's this new big thing, which actually, to be fair, it's not. But he's like, you know, you have a doctor saying all of these things, but the truth is, if you've ever seen a vegetarian documentary and you actually change vegetable to meat, they're the exact same thing. And what they're actually saying is if you eat a little bit of this and a little bit of that in terms of the whole foods, you've got a perfect diet. And that's the truth of the matter. The idea is real foods, but no wonder we're confused. Keto's being thrown at us left, right, and center. Carnivore diet, cabbage soup diet, the magic soup diet, right? You have all these things being thrown at you. And we want to get results. So the first thing that happens is, well, maybe that will work for me. Well, maybe that will work for me. Maybe that will work for me. But the truth of the matter is nothing will work for you unless you put the work in yourself. That's the hard truth. That's the shitty part of the deal, guys. The only thing that will actually work is if you do the work. If you jump to the next one, so you do the magic soup diet, then you do the cabbage soup diet, then you do the carnivore diet, and then you do the keto diet.
The egg fast is one that I've seen. When I eat eggs, social media, I'm like, oh, yeah.
But if you do any of those things, Sheena might get some success short term. But who can eat eggs just by themselves for the rest of their life? Who can eat, you know, just meat for the rest of their life, right? You're going to crave salad, and you're like, oh my gosh. But if you are looking at all the things, the health and diet, nutrition industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry because there's so much information out there. So we get it. We understand. And then you have surgeons saying you have to be at 900 calories. You have, you know, nutritionists say this. And we always say this, you know, make sure you ask questions, even if for us, like ask and confirm and challenge us. Please do. We're ready for it. But the truth is, we understand. We do understand why you're confused. And then you're sitting there trying to figure it out. And then somebody pops in and they're like, oh, I've had great success with the cabbage soup diet. And you're like, ooh, tell me about the cabbage soup diet. It's not going to matter if you can't figure out what's going on with you. And that's a really big one.
And anytime somebody is telling you to do something do it for 5 days, do it for 10 days, do it for 3 months, what's going to happen when you stop? And if you can't do it forever, then that's a big thing to me. That was always like when I had surgery, that was a huge red flag, that I wanted to find a plan that I could follow forever. That it was like, I don't want to just do something to lose the weight, because then what? So that's where I, you know, kind of went to balanced macros, and that felt really good to me, because I'm like, I can live this balanced macros life forever. Like, that feels great, that I can eat a little bit of everything and I don't ever have to deprive myself. I don't have to lose out on food groups. That all of this just felt so natural and normal to me. And when I looked at how normal, healthy people who have never really struggled with their weight, how normal, healthy people ate, that's how they ate. And that's what I wanted to be, was a normal, healthy person. And that's one of my favorite things now, is that people look at me and they don't know that I've had surgery. And they just think that I'm that normal, healthy person. I know when I say to people like, oh yeah, I had bariatric surgery, and they're like, what? I would have never known that. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't want to look sick. I didn't want to have my hair falling out. I wanted to just be a normal, healthy person. And I think that that's what most of you guys want too, is just to be that normal, healthy person. So yeah. Absolutely. That's what eating looks like. So look at that normal, healthy person in your life and be like, oh, you know, cousin Jenny, she just eats. And like, you know, I've never seen her like, you know, obsess over this, and that she just eats normal, healthy food most of the time, but that on her birthday, of course, she has a piece of cake, like it's her birthday. So, you know, just kind of focus on those things and really think about eating, and if what you're eating can be sustained forever, and if it's getting you the results that you want. And if not, then maybe there is some truth to what we're saying.
Yeah, and really quickly, because we do have to go, but somebody commented yesterday, and this is not to call them out on it or anything, it's just to have a conversation about it, open conversation, is they were like, oh, I ate this and I ate that, and I'm just curious, how much is everybody eating? And of course, there's conversations about, you know, calories, and we kind of said this, but one of the things she mentioned was this magic soup diet, or magic soup. And of course, everybody jumps on, they're like, what's magic soup? What's magic soup? And so I pop in, and I'm like, guys, like, it's soup, right? It's vegetables, it's beans, it's broth, there's no magic involved in that. It's good quality ingredients in a soup form, which if you love soup, awesome, it's magic soup. You can put a name on it if you want, right? It could be magic carrots, it could be magic broccoli. If you want to call it that,
there's no magic in it.
But there's no magic.
Fairy dust in the soup. No, there's no magic.
It's just real food. And so that's what we want you guys to know. If you're constantly trying to go after the next magic soup or the next beg diet or the next 5 pounds in 5 days or whatever it is, really just stop and say, okay, I have done this before. Usually it's before your surgery. Sometimes if you're 4 or 5 plus years out, you've done it multiple times after surgery. What is it that you can do long-term, sustainable life? That's what we're looking for. That's what we talk about. That's what we train about. And so if you're struggling, that's it. Like as Christina said, if you look at our stories, I mean, I don't eat much differently. We don't eat much differently anymore because 5 years out, almost there is a big one. But when you're eating whole, healthy, good quality foods, you can only eat so much. You can only have so much. You can only enjoy so much. And the fruit, and you don't feel like you're deprived of anything because you're constantly enjoying the things that you really love. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for the next best, the new magic, the pill that's going to help. It's not necessary. That's why most of you had surgery in the first place. I know that's why Christina and a lot of our members did, because they didn't want to feel this roller coaster ride. And all that does is it takes apart a lot of the things you guys have worked so hard for with your surgery in the first place. So just keep that in mind. All right, for those of you guys who are brand new, remember our coffee chats are every Monday. And then on Thursday, we get an email. It gets sent out. If you're not on our email list, send us a message and we'll throw you on it. And if you are on Saturday, we bring a blog post that basically just brings up what we were talking about. And that comes out on Saturday on our website under blog. So guys,
also don't forget, if you are looking for a little extra support, if you're like, okay, well, this is all great, but where do I go from here? We do have our toolkit still available for you as well. And just a little secret, we haven't increased the price right now. It's supposed to be $199, $197, and it's still on for $37 because I slacked and didn't change the price. So go take advantage of my slacking and get yourself in on that toolkit. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out and we will see you next Monday.
Yeah, bye guys.